What is happening? Okay, so it looks like I'm live on all the different platforms here. Okay, so it feels a bit different, strange, being that I'm not here with my husband because I'm like usually we're here together every single Tuesday, but there's good reason for that, and I'll share that with you in a moment. But before we do that, I want to make sure you all can hear. Yes, from all the platforms. And I am coming in from live coming in from New Jersey, New York area, and would love to hear where you all are chiming in from as well, all over the world. But real quick, before I dive into this quick insight I'm going to be sharing with you all today for our Legacy Live, I want to do a quick intro for those of you who don't know. Maybe it's your first time watching or being with. I say us because it's usually my husband and I. It's usually Mr. OL Buckley and myself, Sway Buckley, but he's not here today. So I'm Sway Buckley, half owner of Marriedpreneur Life, where my husband and I work together and helping other married entrepreneurs to launch, grow, and scale their businesses, and to do that so purposefully, powerfully, and profitably in sync. Now, every single Tuesday, for the most part, we're going to come in here live as we have been doing for the last year or so, and sharing insight tips specifically for those who are called to marriage, marketplace, and ministry. Whatever that may look like for you is likely going to look different for us than it does for you. But what we do know is that there are very strategic and specific pillars that will be helpful across the board. Okay. Hey, Delaware's in the house. Okay. So y'all are down the street around over the river. I've crossed over the Delaware River. Thanks for chiming in, Delaware. Now, here's the thing, real quick. So I'm here, like I said earlier, I'm here by myself for a very, very good reason. And I'm going to share that with you. And it actually ties into what I'm going to talk about a bit today, because I was over in our Facebook group. And so we do have a Facebook group for those of you married entrepreneurs who are on different platforms and maybe not coming in, you're not in our Facebook group, you're welcome to do so. It is Marriage Plus Entrepreneurship over on Facebook. So Marriage Plus Entrepreneurship, we are literally the only Marriage Plus Entrepreneurship group for over on that platform for Facebook. So love to have you over there. We do other conversations and talking as well too. Now, I put a poll up to find out. I was like, okay, since this is going to be a slightly different approach today, coming solo as the wifepreneur here, I wanted to hear from the couples inside of the Facebook group regarding which angle. Like, there's so many different angles you can come from as wifepreneurs, and then just even not even just from the wife's perspective, because that also helps other husbands, but the wives as well too. And so the first response that I got as far as what to really dive into today was really around communication. And so I was like, that's interesting, because I was actually going to look through some of the feedback that we've been getting concerning questions, and a lot of them have been around communication as well too. So what I decided to do is tie in the whole purpose of me being here solo today, how that ties into how we use this as a communication hack. Now, I mentioned over on Facebook, I said, you know what, I'm going to share something that we use in our marriage and business that has really helped us over the last few years. We've implemented it. And it's a hack, I would say, for communication, but it's likely not what you would have thought about. Like, it's not likely not what you would have thought of. So I want to share this with you all today, whether you're the husband, the wife, however long you've been married, newlyweds, been at it for a long time, or if you're just like building your business, or if you've been in business for a very long time. I want to share this bit of wisdom real quick with you, and then I'm going to be about my way on my business. Okay. Before I do that, though, I don't want to forget to let you all know, especially if this is your first time, we also host a pretty amazing, if I may say so myself, podcast called Marriedpreneur Life Podcast. And in that podcast, once again, we share, really, it's like a class. Each week we drop a new episode every Thursday on marriage, marketplace, ministry. And this past week, the latest episode out right now. Listen, if you are needing and lacking motivation and discipline and just trying to push through it, but you feel like you're constantly like on this rat race or this hamster wheel, this episode is for you. It's titled The 17 Life Lessons That We've Learned from Doing the 75 Hard Challenge Together. If you're not aware what the 75 Hard Challenge is, it is really 75 days. My husband and I, really, it came up because of health issues. And I talk a little bit more transparently about that in the episode. So there's that. So we thought we were going to do it for health issues, but it turns out that there was so much more that came from that, and we wanted to share the rich lessons from that. So you all don't have to go do the 75 hard challenge. I mean, you can if you want to, but you can go ahead and get those 17 lessons in the meantime. Okay. But 75 hard challenge. Oh, thanks so much. She says you love the podcast. That warms my heart because we put a whole lot of work in there. Thank you so much for that. And we just work to be really consistent and offer high value. But thank you. So that 75 hard challenge is really what it is 75 days straight, a gallon of water a day, 2 45-minute workouts, any of your kind, and then any one that you want, but one of them has to be outdoors. And then you have to take a progress pic each day, as well as being on a nutrition plan, and then reading 10 pages of a book that's going to help you each day. Okay, so it may sound kind of easy, maybe not, whatever. But if you skip a day or you fall off, you got to start all over from day one. So what we was not going to do was start all over from day one. So we went through this, y'all, for 75 days. And there are some amazing life lessons that have come our way through this, really concerning discipline and motivation to continue on and just to continue putting one foot in front of the other, and also holding each other accountable too. So now we're well past the 75 days, but we're still out there running. We started running. There's a lot of stuff that's come from that. But as far as our personal, emotional, spiritual, even growth, we're sharing all that over in the episode. So I want to let y'all know you can listen to it on marriedpreneurlife.com or your favorite podcasting platform. You can go and get you some. Go listen to it. Okay. Marriedpreneur Life podcast. Now, let me go into this communication piece. And I want to say this too, because I don't want to forget at the end. If you all, as married couples, are seeking to put really like solid systems in place, when we're talking about I'm talking about communication, building business together today. We do have we call it a Marriedpreneur operating systems free checklist. So if you want that, let me know in the comments. I'll make sure we get it to you. Just put systems, drop systems in the comments. We'll get that over to you. This is all going to tie into what we're talking about today. And let's dive in. Communication plus his and her needs. That's why I titled it on here, communication plus his or her needs. So I'm going to start off with the piece and the reason. Well, I'll start off with communication because I was going to start off with something else. Communication. This is definitely, as we know, ongoing. It's an ongoing practice. It's an ongoing discipline. One of the things that we've realized over the 12, almost 13 years of being married and almost 23 years of knowing each other, being friends, is when it comes to communication, oftentimes the breakdown in communication comes from not being clear or having unclear, unspoken even expectations. And so when we have unclear and unspoken expectations, it's going to be easy for the other person to miss those unclear and unspoken expectations. It makes sense, right? Like, duh, right? But it's so simple, but yet it's so profound. And so one of the ways that we practice this, just ongoing, we just really try to do our best with practicing it, is letting each other know, like, and I think for me, I don't know about my husband, I would have to ask him, but I realize when I have an expectation that has been missed and like he just didn't do it or meet that expectation. And I realize, and I ask myself, how, number one, did I explain my expectation to him? And then number two, if I did, how clear was I? Because I know his intention is not just to like throw it out the window. Neither is my intention for his. And so I realized that has helped. I mean, when I tell you tremendously, in a great way. So whether it's just everyday marriage stuff, or if it's business things, if it's dealing with clients or with our wealth roles and who's going to be doing this or who's tackling this, or just even what, what am I feeling like? What do I need? And so that ties into the needs to that piece of it too. The reason why he's not with me today is because I recognize a need about maybe 2 years ago for him, based on his capacity, based on what the season that we're in, that there was a deep need for him to have space to decompress. And what we decided to do was to be intentional about this. And so we decided to put in our schedule, like in the culture of our marriage, culture of our lifestyle, rest. We do that on a weekly basis, but this is very specifically for him, based on the unique calling that he has, and the unique capacity maybe that he has or doesn't have. So he needs this refueling in a different way, maybe from me. And so we put in place to have him go away. Like we call it a biannual. Like we don't even know like the name of it. We just call it a biannual. It's a biannual getaway, but it's a staycation, right? So it's not like it had to be a fancy name or anything like that. But he's not far. He's like down the street, around the corner. Not literally, maybe like 20 minutes away. But what that does for a few days, twice a year, what that does for him is it gives him the space that he needs to refuel, but then also to create, because he's also, we were like, should we call it like a prayer staycation, or should we call it a retreat? It's a solo getaway, so I'm sure there's a lot of prayer going on in there as well too, reading, studying, but just really for him to do what he needs to do to get away from the everyday items that have to get done. He needs that. And I noticed that. I remember when we were in premarital counseling, the counselor told us, well, she told me, she said, speaking of my fiance, now husband, he needs rest. Like, yes, you need rest, but if he doesn't get the rest that he needs, like it's not going to go well. Right. Like, so I may be able to function not at my best on not, a lot of rest, but he needs to do this on a continual basis. And so I remember her saying that, but then as we got even closer into the pandemic, and then it was just more heavy stuff, like just having to do the same things, but realizing he needs to just have some time to escape. And so as wives, I think it's really important that we're discerning of what our husband needs, even though it may not be the same thing that we need. Because there was a time when I would be like, well, why do you even need to do that? Like, I don't need to do that. Like, why do you function like that? And if I don't function like that, but we're not the same person. We're totally different, like in many ways. And our makeup is very, very different as well too. And so not putting us in the same bucket, it's not fair to him, neither is it fair to me, but just realizing and discerning, like, you know what, we need to make a change. And so we did that. And when I tell you, y'all, it has been amazing. It has been amazing. When he comes back tomorrow, been away for about 4 days. Well, it'll be about 4 days or 3.5-ish days. He's like a brand new person. Like he's so clear. He's so clear on the vision. And listen, I need him to be clear as the head of this house. I need him to be like in tune with what God is saying. So like, let me know so I can help and we can just do this thing together. Right. I need that. And he needs that. Right. So, and as wives, we need and appreciate that security on all levels. And so being that he has that time away to do that is so critical for us as a unit, as number one, as a married couple, and then secondly, as a couple in business. And so, every couple is different. I just say this to say it's important to understand what the needs are, his needs and your needs. And for me, my needs may not be the same in that way. I do get away, but it's not necessarily the same in the same frequency. And maybe not in the same way. I could just have some good downtime each week, and I can refuel that way and keep it moving for the most part. So just understanding like what we need. Now, this ties ultimately into communication, because what happens is when he has a clear head and he's able to articulate even his expectations, and I'm able to have the conversation back with him to understand what's going on, what he needs and what I need, it makes it so much easier to get our points across. So, and then to work to help each other in that way. So I just wanted to say that really quickly, because communication doesn't have to be complicated, but it does require humility, and it requires like keeping your finger on the pulse and not expecting that maybe something that was a certain way in the previous season, that it's the same way right now. And then we'll be operating from like a place where we were versus where we are. And that is going to be frustrating for yourself and for your spouse as well too. And so This is critical. Okay, here's a quick. I think Latoya. Hey, communication is a core pillar for us, and we recently did an episode on his versus her needs. Yes, so important to understand. Yes, yes, and yes. And so I just wanted to come in here. To share that based on the feedback that I got over in the group, asking to dive into a little bit more with communication, because this particular, I call it a hack, but it's really a lifestyle. And especially as believers, for us as rest, like getting the rest that we need. And that may look a little different for each of us as husband and wife. But regardless, making sure that rest is not just, it comes up when we run out of gas, but making sure that it is literally a part of the culture of our marriage. It's the culture of our home and the culture of our business as well, too. And so when we do this, we are ultimately as believers, we are setting aside the thing that we desire to do so much, which is, I mean, if you enjoy your work, you enjoy your job, you enjoy business in that way. For me, it is challenging to turn it off when I don't want to turn it off. And I hardly ever want to turn it off, but I know I need to turn it off, and just being fully, transparent in that. But when I have the practice of and the culture of rest and the discipline of rest, ultimately that honors God, because I know that I am, and by no means am I my own God. But what happens when we choose not to rest as believers, what we're saying is that that's what we feel like we got to do what we got to do, versus honoring God and thanking him for what he has done and allowing him to do the work that he's going to do anyway. He's already working while we're resting. And I have so many personal stories of him just blowing our minds when we decided to truly, like, sink our teeth into trusting him in this way, and trusting him with having rest as a part of the culture of our lifestyle, and not feeling like we have to earn our rest. We don't. As believers, we do not have to earn our rest. Our rest is given to us. Jesus said, come unto me, all who are heavy laden, right? Burden. He said, and he's gonna give us a rest. Like, we don't give ourselves rest. We just come, we receive the rest. And so I know for me, this is definitely a lifelong journey, and I'm growing in it on so many levels, and realizing that in many ways I was not resting, even though I understood that I needed to, and I thought I was. But God has a way of letting you know, like, there's more for you. You're at a certain level, but there's more for you. There's more rest that needs to happen in order for you to truly trust me. So I say all that to say all that even still ties into communication, his needs and her needs. And I hope that's encouraging to you all. I know it's not the most popular thing today when it comes to resting, communication, and how they all tie in together, but it may not be popular, but it is true. And it's definitely powerful. So we can speak to that from personal experience. So we hope, I'm about to say we hope, like, my husband, he's right here. We hope this has been helpful. He is here in my heart and spirit, but Lord willing, he'll be back next week when we do our next one next week. So hope this has been helpful for you all and encouraging to you all. And I definitely want to hear and know, but I'm going to head on out. So today I'm going to do my own type of rest. I have my therapy session soon, and then I have a rest of the day at the spa. And so that's how I'm resting today, right? So when he comes back, he's going to be rejuvenated, but guess what? Your girl's going to be rejuvenated too. So looking forward to seeing him soon. All right. Oh, my pleasure, Latoya. All right, y'all. God bless. Until next time, keep living purposefully, powerfully, and profitably in sync.